Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to BWTM Sports. We have with us on the line all the way from America, once again, welcoming Rick Glaser. Rick, how you doing?
Hello, England, and hello, boxing enthusiasts around the world. I hope everybody's well this evening.
Rick, of course, once again, for people who are new to the channel or people who are new listening, could you just give people just a quick flavor as to who you are?
I'm an international agent and broker in the professional boxing business. January 2018 coming up here, I'll be in my 27th year full-time in professional boxing. And I've worked with some of the biggest names in the business around the world as far as promoters, fighters, just everybody in general. And I provide services to the professional boxing business on a daily basis worldwide. And I love what I do. It's the only thing I do, and I enjoy it immensely, and I enjoy meeting people and talking boxing with people that are educated boxing enthusiasts, like, just everybody.
Fantastic, Rick. And of course, you've got a very popular Facebook page as well, where you're always dropping information and dropping wisdom all the time.
Well, I appreciate that. It's my way of giving back to boxing. I wish I was immensely wealthy, and give back in other ways, like some of these guys do, these philanthropists do. But it's my way of giving back to the boxing enthusiasts around the world. Is Facebook, whether it's information, wisdom, knowledge, experiences. I do it daily, and I enjoy doing it. And I do it because there's no other place in boxing that really gives you truthful, forthright answers to questions that people are afraid to ask.
Well, when you're on this channel, Rick, you've got full disclosure. You can say what you want, when you like, how you say it, because we do not censor people on our channel. We let them speak their truth.
I appreciate that. So what do you want to talk about this evening?
Okay, let's start with let's talk about pay-per-view numbers first and foremost. Going back to Hughie Fury versus Joseph Parker, what were the pay-per-view numbers for that, Rick?
Well, I'm not sure because I don't get. We didn't have that fight on pay-per-view in the United States. I never even looked into it, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I know that I talked to Mick Hennessy since the fight, and he was very happy and ecstatic about everything but the result itself. But as far as the drawing power of the fight, he was very happy with. He was not happy with the result.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
He was happy with the drawing power.
Okay, one fight that did draw quite a bit of numbers was McGregor versus Mayweather. You hear Mayweather talk a lot about numbers and pay-per-view numbers, and numbers don't lie. But do his numbers actually count up at box office, or is this more?
No. They're all. Listen. They said that they announced originally that Mayweather did over 1 million homes back then, and it really did like 300 and. I don't have the figures in front of me. Maybe did 387,000 or 397,000. It was under 400,000. They lied by 2.5 times. What it actually did. Mayweather McGregor really did in the United States between 3.2 and 3.5. Did more than 3.2, but did under 3.3 homes. They announced 4.4 million U.S. homes, and it didn't do that kind of numbers. It did do well, but it didn't do what they thought it did. What was going to do? Put it that way to you. And, it still did well. It was still the second biggest pay-per-view fight ever in the United States, the first one being Pacquiao-Mayweather, which did almost 4.6 million. So it still did really well. But you know what? Every time Floyd fights, they try to make it a bigger event than it really is. Because, and he's making all this money and all this flash and stuff. Let's be realistic. Come on. Tell the truth. Don't lie. And the reason why they're lying about the pay-per-view numbers is because they always try to make it a bigger event than it seems like. So they want to act like, you look what you missed out on. And don't forget the next time, don't miss out on this, is what basically they're saying when they tell you about these big pie-in-the-sky numbers. So that's why they're doing it. They're doing it for future promotions.
So how does that rack up to Canelo versus Gennady Golovkin?
That did about It did it did about 1.1 million homes. They never announced the true figure. Some people say the 2 million, 1.5, but it actually did about 1.1 million, which is very, very good because remember something. Okay, Canelo was the draw in that fight. GGG was what they call a high-priced B-side. He didn't bring anything to the table as far as pay-per-view buys himself, but he brought credibility to what turned into a major fight because he was in it. But you ask people about GGG, they're like, okay, yeah, I'm a fan, but will they pay for on pay-per-view? They actually paid to see him and Canelo. They didn't pay for GGG because if you go back to the Danny Jacobs fights and the David Lemieux fight, those fights were on pay-per-view and they didn't do anything. 97 one, they announced 157 to 97,000 buys. Like I said, I don't have I'm not at home right now, my home office, but I will say this to you that basically speaking is that they didn't do anywhere near what they said it did without Canelo. Now, the Canelo made the fight. GGG made the fight, but Canelo was the draw.
Okay.
I hope that makes sense to everybody.
Of course, but when you talk about Gennady Golovkin, and I know you're aware of it across Facebook and social media, when you say Gennady Golovkin, people automatically take offense and they get on the back foot and get defensive. No, what? Gennady Golovkin?
He's an exciting. You got to remember something. He's an exciting fighter to watch because he's always putting pressure on his opponent, no matter who he's fighting. And he comes to fight and he comes to knock somebody's head off. So people get excited like he did about Mike Tyson. Let's give you an example. Okay, but the truth of the matter is he's a little on the limited side. I wouldn't want to have GGG and put him in with Marvin Hagler, back in the day. Okay, he get his goose cooked. I'm to be honest with you. The Roberto Duran is a middleweight that beat Iran Barkley that night would beat GGG.
A lot of people.
So there's your answer.
You argue if you have conversations with some boxing fans, GGG beats Sugar Ray Robinson, he beats Marvin Hagler, he beats Sugar Ray Leonard, he beats all those guys. If you talk to them,
there's not. He wouldn't have a prayer. Now let me explain something. He couldn't even get lucky in those fights. I'll tell you the reason why. Even though he can punch, Hagler had an unbelievable chin. Sugar Ray Leonard had an unbelievable chin. Okay, forget about that. Forget about an old Ray Leonard that fought Camacho. When he was fighting Donnie Lalonde, when he was fighting Thomas Hearns, he had a great chin. And if he got knocked down, that son of a bitch got up. Okay, he got up and he fought back. And he fought back with more vigor than before he went down. So just keep that in mind. And GGG couldn't even get lucky with those guys. Hagler would have walked through them like Rand took Richmond. Just walked right through. So, the people are, this is how I look at a GGG. He's great in a poor era. He's an era great. He is not an all-time great. All-time greats are in the middleweight division I count Sugar Ray Robinson as the greatest welterweight of all time. And here's who I count as middleweights. The best. Marvin Hagler, Monzon, Carlos Monzon, those type of fighters right there. Those are all-time great middleweights. And he wouldn't stand a prayer. He wouldn't stand a prayer with those kind of fighters. He'd have no chance at all. And that's what I say when you talk about greatness and all-time greatness. It's very subjective, I realize, but you got to know what you're comparing them to. Okay, and he's an era great. He's an era great in a bad era. He wouldn't. I'll tell you what. GGG wouldn't have beat Bernie Briscoe. Bernie Briscoe, bad Bernie Briscoe, Philadelphia fighter from the 70s and 80s. He wouldn't have beat him. No, there's not even a question about it in my mind. And he was never a world champion. He was just a solid top 10 contender, not a journeyman, but a solid top 10 contender, a world traveler, half bags, world travel. He wouldn't have beat him.
Now, when we're talking, when you're talking, the perspective is coming from you. I want people to know and understand this is not some bum off the street I'm talking to, or some guy I randomly rang up and said, let's have a chat with me and my mate and have a pint and have a talk about it. This is somebody who's a matchmaker.
I appreciate the nice send off you're giving me, but I think after 27 years in boxing, going on 27 years full time in professional boxing, I think that's a credible thing right off the bat. I've developed a lot of world champions. I've worked with 41 world champions, former world champs, sitting world champs, and #1 contenders in that period of time, plus a whole bunch of other title challengers. So I have credibility. But in reality, it just in certain times it doesn't even take brains. It takes common sense and experience. I mean, tell me who's going to stand up in this era too. And I mean Canelo, GGG, Daniel Jacobs. Who's going to stand up to Marlos Barber? He walked through people. He ground people down. I mean, not only Hearns, but look what he did to Mugabe.
That's what I was going to say. Mugabe. He walked right through Mugabe. How would Mugabe do in this era?
He would have beat everybody. Mugabe, the best of John Mugabe would have knocked out GGG, Canelo, and Daniel Jacobs maybe in the same evening. 4 rounds apiece, give them 12 rounds total between them. I mean, you're talking about it when Mugabe. You got to remember something. Mugabe went into the Hagler fight the best of himself, and he left the ring a shell of himself. He left the best he had in that ring that night. And that tells you all you need to know about the beast Mugabe. Would you agree with that, anyone?
Well, I am in agreement with that. But you see, a lot of people saying peak Gennady Golovkin stands with all of them. Well, I didn't say that.
I'm sorry. What was that?
I didn't say that. We've got people in the room listening in, and we've got AL says in his peak, Gennady Golovkin goes toe to toe with all the greats. Not saying he wins. That's what AO says.
No. I mean, listen, anybody can stand there and go toe to toe. Winning is the key. Winning is the key thing. Okay, and Mugabe was a world champion. Okay, and he was an excellent fighter. Okay, there's no question about it. He was heavy-handed. He could take a punch, and he got ground down by Hagler. And Hagler's a beast. Hagler took the best punches that Hearn and Mugabe could offer. Okay, and believe me when I tell you, they are much better punchers than GGG. And Hagler walked through them punches from both guys. He was never even on the deck in either fight. So there you go. And here you have a situation that they compared GGG to Hagler. There's no chance. He wouldn't beat Mugabe, who got manhandled in the end by Hagler, got ground down by Hagler. You're talking about different types of fighters here. You're talking about the cream of boxing. And GGG is an era great against third-rate competition.
You're telling it. Well, you're speaking the truth, and that's why we love you on the show. Now, when you talk about matchmaking, talk us about some of the fights you've been a part of matchmaking, for example, so people can get a picture of where it's come from.
I was influential in the Joe Calzaghe Roy Jones fight from Ashwick, November 8th of 2008. I was influential in putting that together. And I worked the show. I was the matchmaker. I worked the show and everything else. Just all kinds of fights over the years. The Paul Spadafora fights, all his world title fights. The Paul Spadafora, just a whole bunch of different people. And a bunch of Don King fights, including Sergey Lakovich. I was influential making him and what is his name? Sergey Lakovich and Shannon Briggs. I was influential making that fight. And even though I wasn't the matchmaker for the show, I helped put that together. I eased all the parties into the transaction, both parties into the transaction, and I helped do that. And just in general, just to do my thing. I'm a working guy every day in boxing. I put deals together that are difficult. People come to me as the calming source of getting all the egos together and making it happen.
Okay, let's move a little. Let's fast forward a little bit. Anthony Joshua, don't talk to me about the result at the moment. Talk to me about pay-per-view figures, in your opinion.
How good is he?
Yeah.
I would say I definitely say he's the best heavyweight right now in boxing. I think he would walk through. I think he'd walk through Deontay Wilder. I think his physical strength and his balance is so much better, and his shorter, more compact punches. Even though he doesn't throw short compact punches, they're much shorter, more compact than Wilder. And I think the physical strength and I think the balance destroys Wilder quickly and swiftly, as I like to say. I don't think it goes, long into the night. The only thing that goes into the night is Wilder. We're looking at black lights. I don't think that he lasts too long. I think he's going to get knocked out. That'd be done. I think the Khan was a tough fight to take because the Khan, he gives it a decent effort, but he's not a great fighter. But he's got willpower and a tremendous chin, and he showed that. If he was any less of a man, he would have went out of that fight in 4 or 5 rounds. But he's a real man, and he took a beating.
What did you make of the stoppage?
You know what? I don't question when a guy's taking a prolonged beating over 10 rounds, it's very tough to question a referee in the 10th round that he shouldn't have stopped the fight. Because if it would have been in the first 3 rounds, I would say that I would question the stoppage. But the guy had taken a beating over the first 9 rounds of the fight. What was going to change at that point? He'll live the fight another day rather than 2 punches later he could be comatose. I think it was a good stop. I don't question if it would have been in the first few rounds and they would have stopped it like that, then I would have said, they stopped quick. But not when the guy's getting beaten up over the first 10 rounds. How do you feel about that?
Well, some would say they would like to see Takam at least get the opportunity to fight the 12 rounds out. The other thing people would say is, well, okay, Takam round 9, round 10, it looked like he was coming on strong in those rounds. But boxing's subjective. You saying he was taking a beating, I thought he was slipping a lot of shots, making Joshua miss, getting on the inside. I thought Takam was fighting pretty well, landing nice body shots. Joshua looked like he was tiring in the fight. But again, boxing subjective. Can I say something?
Can I say something funny? I want to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Joshua starts out the fight looking like he's tired. It's a weird thing. I've never seen a guy. He walks out of the dressing room and he looks like he's tired. I think that's more of a. There's something about his persona that says that because the guy's so muscular and so physically big. I think people expect more out of him because of that. When realistically, quote, he's only human. Okay, and I think that's the way I have to look at it. I thought he was completely gone and tired out, even though he was when he fought Klitschko. But he roared. He caught a second win, and he roared back, and he showed us. I said to everybody after that fight, he said, "Oh, he must not have a good chin. He was on the deck." I said, "No. It showed me he's got heart. Okay, number 1. Okay, number 2, he showed me his guile. It shows me he has the desire to succeed, and not only as a fighter but as a person. Because any less of a man, character-wise, would have never got up from a Vitaly Klitschko Vladimir Klitschko right hand.
Yeah.
So I give him more credit. I saw more things in him that were negative, that out of a negative situation. I give him more credit in all the intangible areas than, quote, be questioning his chin. I think a lot of other great questions were answered on that fateful night. How's that?
That fight he had against Klitschko, I will always repeat, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. He fought a Klitschko that had already been beaten by Tyson Fury 2 years out, and Klitschko wasn't doing anything. So for me, all I can say is congratulations to Anthony Joshua for beating Klitschko that night. Although I will also say that Vitaly Klitschko, for whatever reason, told him not to finish him off for whatever reason. It is what it is. Joshua won the fight. We're going to go back to that stoppage thing. When we talk about the stoppage, again, this is my personal opinion. When I look at a fighter when they're getting stopped, I'm look at the sequence of punches that they're taking, and then I'm looking at their eyes. Or if I can't look at their eyes, I'm looking at their legs. Now, the sequence of punches that Takam took before he was about to get stopped, before the referee jumped in to stop him, Joshua missed with about 2 punches. He hit with one good shot, yes, and Takam went back. But I don't know if he went back because he was riding the shot, or he went back because he was actually. I mean, this is a guy, 18 stone hitting you on the chin. So of course you're going to get rocked to the shot, and it's a 10th round. But the fact that,
right, but here's what I want to say about it, okay? And please understand this. Okay?
Yes, God.
We're not looking. We don't have the angle to look at the eyes like the guy standing right in the ring, the referee. And a referee knows what he sees just from experience and what common sense tells him. And it's tough to argue with a stop whether it's good, bad, or different. I mean, listen, did Davey Pearl stop the Michael Dokes Weaver fight in the first round too fast? Absolutely. I mean, that was not even a question. And that's what I said about early stoppages in early rounds. But then I have a real problem with it. But when it comes to the 10th round, 11th round, later in the fight, and championship rounds fights, the 11th and 12th, 10th, 11th, and 12th, you know what? The referee knows what he's looking at, and I have to agree. I can't just sit there and disagree. Sitting at my desk or on my couch in my living room on a big screen TV or looking at it on the computer, and I just, you know what? I wouldn't want to question him. I think that I like the way they stop fights. Rather than the guy take a prolonged beating and then have the fight. We got a Dooku Kim on our hands. We've got a Gerald McCall on our hands. We've got a Michael Watson on our hands. We don't need stuff like that. We don't need blood in the sport. We should be able to determine a winner quickly and swiftly in a fight when a referee makes a decision and say, hey, you made it. That was a good stop. That's what I said to Vitaly Klitschko. The Vladimir Klitschko fight with Joshua was an excellent stop.
That was an excellent stoppage.
Down several times. It was an excellent stop, and I'm not going to question the other night. Like I said, Michael Dokes and Michael Dokes and Mike Weaver. That was a fast stop. First round, boom, boom, boom. Guys taking a few punches. A lot of them coming off the gloves and arms and forearms and stuff. And the next thing you know, the referee's jumping in and waving his hand. They're stopping the fight. That was ridiculous. That I'll agree with. But these kind of fights, I err on the side of caution. Okay, and I believe you don't have to have a guy bludgeon half to death on a boxing ring to determine a true winner that evening.
Okay, Mildred Taylor, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. Senior, sorry. Stopped how many seconds from the end of the fight? Mildred Taylor was winning that fight, clearly. Now,
Mildred Taylor, see, I disagree with you on that fight. I think it should have been stopped. I'll tell you the reason why.
Okay.
Because when Richard Steele asked him questions, he failed to answer. Lou Duva distracted him by getting up on the ring apron. Okay, which he shouldn't have been on. Technically, he should have been disqualified, Mildred Taylor, because Lou Duva got up on the ring apron.
Okay.
Okay, so if you want to talk about whether he was stopped or not, he could have been disqualified once Lou Duva got above the steps there during the fight. Okay, and when he asked him questions, he failed to answer any of the questions. Richard Steele and I are very friendly. I wouldn't call him my friend, but I will say we are very friendly towards one another. And by the way, I determine a friend if you were in trouble. How are you? If you were in trouble in the middle of the night, would somebody help you out? That is a friend. Okay, a friend, just because a guy talks to you, knows your name, doesn't mean he's your friend. We're friendly. So here's how I'm going to leave it with you, with Richard. I asked Richard years later, okay, literally years later, and I said to him, it wasn't that long. I met Richard in '93, so the fight was in March 17th of '90. So I probably asked him about 85 or 86. Richard, he said, Rick, I looked right into his eyes, his eyes were glassy. I asked him 2 questions, and he failed to answer either question. Then he looked to the side when he was looking at Lou Duva. And what's-his-name didn't realize that Lou Duva had gotten on the steps, but he could have been disqualified, Taylor, because his corner got up over the steps and onto the ring apron. And that's what he was looking at. So he had a very, very, very poor reaction. He had a very poor reaction to the stoppage, to the knockdown itself, which caused Richard to stop the fight. Also, remember this. Mm-hmm. It's not the referee's determination how much time is left in a round to stop the fight. Its determination is a safety factor, not a time element. So that doesn't really play into it at all. What do I think? I thought it was a good stop, but I would have done the same thing Richard Steele did that night. Absolutely. Not even a question.
I want to bring one more fight up. Razor Ruddock, Mike Tyson, the first fight. Tyson hits Ruddock with a combination. Ruddock falls back towards the ropes, and the referee comes in and stops it, despite being hit.
No, that was a bad stop. That was a bad stop because Razor Ruddock was in no trouble before then, and I thought the power of the punch hurt him. But I think Razor was tired at the time and a little off balance when he got hit, and I thought it was a very, very bad stop. That was a bad stop, no question about it. Well, but in the meantime, but let me say one thing to you. We can sit here and talk about this all night, just to let you know. And you're going to have one opinion, I'll have another. Sometimes we'll agree, sometimes you won't disagree. But just remember one thing. Okay, those fists with tape and gauze on those fists can maim somebody permanently. And to prove that, okay, Melvin Taylor was never the same after the first Chavez fight.
Of course,
the shell of his old self.
Yes,
and that proves it right there. You have everything he had in the ring that night. End of the story.
I could say that. I could also say to you that Takam got knocked out by Povetkin, but look at the performance he was putting on against Joshua. I thought he did well.
What was that? I missed that.
I said I could come back with you at that and say to you, look, hey, Povetkin got knocked out flat by Povetkin knocked Takam out flat in the 10th round, but he came back and was fighting well against Joshua.
Well, listen, stuff like that happens. It's boxing. But you've got to look at the safety factor involved at all times. You have to be a humane person to be a referee. And I don't want to second guess referees when fighters are hurt late in fights. Like I said, so some of these ones are questionable. Like I said, the Razor Ruddock fight with Tyson that you mentioned. I mentioned the Michael Dokes, Mike Weaver fight. Some of these are questionable, okay? And no question. But when you talk about later in a fight, late. Yeah, I hate to question the referee's decision. He knows what he's looking at. He's in the ring with the guy. He knows what he sees. We don't know what he sees. We're looking at it through a TV set or sitting at ringside 25, 30, 40 feet, 50 feet away and more. So we think we see something we're not sure. But in reality, they're standing right there and they know. And also, they're asking questions. When the guy gets knocked down, gets up, what city are you in? What's your mother's first name? What's your father? They always have, these referees, whether you know it or not, have a small list of questions they ask a fighter. They'll ask a fighter. Okay? In other words, they'll find out the mother's first name. Or what's your mother's first name? Like, what do you go? Oh, her name's Bertha. Okay. And then in the ring, they'll say, okay, what's your mother's first name? If they can't answer that simple question, you think the fight should go on? I don't think so. Okay, so that's how I look at it.
Okay. So I think this particular situation in terms of the stoppage, I didn't think that it was in my personal humble opinion, but again, you're correct. I can't see what the referee sees. I've replayed the fight, the stoppage over and over again. To me, Takam his legs look stable and strong. Joshua missed with 2 of the shots before he landed a good shot. They replayed it. And he missed with a couple of shots, and then the referee jumped in. So I understand about the safety element. I also understand about the other element where fans are saying that's a poor stoppage. Takam, would like to see Joshua go to 12 rounds, and Takam look fit and still healthy. So again, it's subjective, and you're correct. You're absolutely right. We could argue about this for ages. Let's move on. So the next point and topic. The next point and topic would be Anthony Joshua, pay-per-view star. Your thoughts?
Is he a pay-per-view star? He's an everything star. He's drawn 215,000 people in his last 4 fights. 78,000. Now, let me tell you something right now. I'm not saying a boxing fanatic who talks boxing and things who've never heard of Carlos Icahn before the before the fight was announced as a replacement bout, of Tom fighting Joshua. But the general sporting public in England, or who people look like fight as an event, they never heard of the comp. And to draw 78,000 people without a name opponent is absolutely remarkable. No fighter in the United States, Canada, or Mexico has ever drawn 78,000 people without a name opponent. Now, Chavez got 105,000 people in Mexico City. There was 120 there, but 105,000 people paid. Okay, against Haugen, but Haugen was a big name at the time. Right, Haugen was a big name at the time, and Chavez was the biggest thing ever in Mexico as far as being an attraction. And that did 105,000 people with a big name. So you're talking about a guy that I don't think they built. Here's what I'm going to say about Mr. Joshua. I don't think they built a stadium big enough in England or in all the UK, okay, to accommodate what Anthony Joshua's potential is to be a draw. So in other words, if you've got a stadium with 200,000 people, okay, that's what this man can do eventually. 3, 4, 5 fights down the road. This guy is building momentum every day. I mean, he drew 90,000 people partly because of Klitschko. Now 78,000 people with no Klitschko. That just tells you something. He's going uphill because he fought a nobody. Even Pulev was a nobody. So he wasn't a known to boxing enthusiasts. He was a known guy to diehards, but he wasn't a known name in England. You got an exceptional guy there that's going to continue to be a tremendous draw. He's got a personality. He talks well. He answers questions well. He's educated. He's got charisma. And I believe, even though he's made some mistakes earlier in life, he's corrected those mistakes. And I think that he's going to be everything that somebody wants to be. I think he's going to be the Lewis Hamilton of boxing for the UK. How's that?
Sounds all very good. I had a debate yesterday.
By the way, your Grand Prix driver, your Formula One driver, Lewis Hamilton just won the World Championship yesterday.
Yeah, he's from his family's from the island that my family from, Grenada. So yes, I know Lewis Hamilton, and he's a fantastic driver.
Right. So he's going to be there's nobody in the UK that's going to be bigger than Joshua and Lewis Hamilton for years to come.
Okay.
They're the top of the sporting public.
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. The pay-per-view thing, absolutely. I think and Eddie Hearn will rinse that pay-per-view for as long as he can, and long live Eddie for doing that. And if boxing fans continue to subscribe to that, that's fair enough. There's some people that subscribe to that and pay out of their backside to see Joshua fight in fair play. Now, few things. I did a show yesterday and I said, why does Anthony Joshua need Eddie Hearn to promote him now? Has he not reached that platform where he could go to the next level, possibly leave?
Because here's why.
Okay.
I as a human being, I'm not a fan of Eddie. As a human being, I think he's an arrogant guy. I dealt with him one time. I don't like how he. Let's put it this way to you. I don't dislike him as a person. I don't like how he carries himself professionally. But I will say this to you. He's done a great job with him. He'll continue to do a great job with him. Nobody in England's going to do a better job than Eddie's done with him. Okay, and Eddie will continue to do a great job for him. Are you saying basically that he doesn't need Eddie Hearn? He still needs a guy to organize his fights and be everything he's supposed to be to him. Now, if he had John Wishhausen and Richard Paxson, are you familiar with both those gentlemen?
Yes, I am.
Okay, if they had him working in tandem together and organizing his fights, he would do fine, and he'd probably net more money for himself. But Eddie has done a great job in building them up, and I think it's a successful package.
Let me throw something at you. Yesterday, I spoke to boxing fans and said AJ could go by himself, or he could get the likes of Leonard Ellaby and Al Heyman on his side. How would that work if Joshua were to go via America and have Al Heyman and Leonard Ellaby on his side?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing. Leonard's a very nice person, and he's a decent human being, but he's not a true promoter.
Okay.
He can't make a guy bigger. He's not really a promoter. He's a front guy for Heyman and Mayweather.
Okay.
Heyman, there's nothing that Al Heyman can do for AJ, for Anthony Joshua. Zero. You don't need a guy in the background. You need a mouthpiece. You need a guy to get out there and stomp the bushes and set up public appearances and go on the shows with people and stuff. You need a Don King type. You need an Eddie Hearn type. You don't need a guy sitting in the background, okay, or a guy who's just an ordinary guy who knows he's a guy who everybody knows is a front for a guy like Leonard Elby's a front for Mayweather. You need a guy out there that people respect and will stomp the bushes for him. And that's not Al Heyman or Leonard Elby.
Okay, you tell me the difference between the setup with Al Heyman and Leonard Ellerby with Mayweather Promotions and Eddie Hearn. People want to know the difference.
Well, first of all, is Heyman does not talk to the press at all. Zero. He only takes phone calls from certain people. He never talks to the press about his fighters, and he's strictly a backroom kind of guy. Leonard Ellerby is strictly a front guy for Heyman, for Mayweather and Heyman. There's no ingenuity in his game plan. He's not making the decision. He's told what to do like a lapdog. And I like Leonard, don't get me wrong. Okay, Leonard's a quality human being, but he's a lapdog. He's not the one making the decision. He's not the brain power. Eddie Hearn's been the brain power. He's been a good mouthpiece for Anthony Joshua, just like Don King was for Mike Tyson. That's what you need. You don't need. He doesn't need a Leonard Ellerby and Al Heyman. He needs a guy who's going to beat the bushes for him and make the deals and organize the events and promote the events. And Leonard Ellerby and Al Heyman couldn't have promoted Mike Tyson in his heyday, let alone Anthony Joshua now.
What about the team behind Mike Tyson, Bill Caton, those guys back then? How would they have done with Joshua?
Well, Bill Caton would have done a nice job with him because Bill Caton was truly about the fighter, about the fighter's welfare, both financially and long-term health and growth as a fighter and as a human being. So he would have been a calming force behind the situation, yes. But I don't think these guys could have done any better than what Eddie's done over in the UK. Now, if you're talking about coming to America, I would think Bob Arum or Don King would be the answer. That would be my own opinion. Even though that Don's not in the public spotlight as much as he used to. If he had Anthony Joshua, he should want to be in the public, but he just doesn't have the caliber of fighters to be in the public spotlight. But I think that guys like Bob Arum or Don King would make him huge over here. Better than Eddie would over here.
We've got somebody in the room who says, Tubes, he says, why do people hate Eddie Hearn so much?
Well, I can't answer that, why they hate Eddie Hearn. I just don't like the way he does certain things. I dealt with him one time, and it's like, for Anthony Joshua opponent, as a matter of fact, what was his name? A kid from the United States.
Brazil?
I can't remember his name. Who?
Brazil?
I can't remember the guy's name. He was originally from Pennsylvania, lived in Florida. Off the top of my head, I can't remember his name. He was a Caucasian from the United States.
Oh, Jason Gavin. Gavin.
What's his name?
Jason Gavin.
Yeah, Jason Gavin. That's right. I put Jason in that fight. Okay, I got Jason in that fight. He was a last-minute opponent. I like a week's notice, and I got him to fight, and I negotiated with Eddie and stuff. I just thought, listen, I don't have anything against Eddie, but he's not the warmest, backslapping, friendly guy I've ever met. He's very arrogant, and I think that people take him that way. And another thing is when you follow in your father's footsteps, even though he's done a job, don't get me wrong, when you follow in your father's footsteps and you're handed a throne and you have a lot of money behind you, as in Barry Hearn's a Hall of Fame boxing promoter and a super wealthy guy, I think that they look at him as a spoiled brat rather than a self-made guy. Like Don King and Bob Arum are self-made.
Mm-hmm.
Those kind of guys are self-made. Another thing is, I don't know if you realize this, but guys like King and Arum, they'll say anything that comes out of it. Anything that comes to their mind, they'll say. They just spout out stuff. And I think that Eddie tries to pull that same stuff off, and he comes off wrong because of it. I think if he was more of a guy on the down low and was more thoughtful before he spoke, I think people. I enjoyed the Twitter battles between Lou Dibella and because Lou Dibella, as I call him, a scum-sucking pig. The Twitter battles that Eddie Hearn has had with Lou Dibella, but in reality, Eddie is besides the Lou Dibella thing, I think he's a little overbearing at times and a little much. You know what I'm saying? He's a little too much over the top. This is not Vince McMahon and championship wrestling.
Wait, hold on. So Eddie Hearn is one thing. I was just about to talk to you about Eddie Hearn and Lou Dibella. Lou Dibella said, Eddie, you're not breaking America because we don't want no public school kids coming to America. It don't work. That's not going to work in America. So what's your beef with Lou Dibella?
You got to remember something. You have to remember something over here. And this is different than in England. Our fighters over here are very uneducated. They're street urchins, and they're very uneducated, and they're hardcore kind of guys. You guys are developing fighters that have education levels behind them. Lennox Lewis is well educated, and Joshua's got some education behind him. Your fighters in general are more cultured and more way more educated and way more cultured. And the street, our fighters are more street urchins. So they're not going to take a liking to an Eddie Hearn like they would they've taken over the years to a Don King or even a Bob Arum, who's a lawyer, a Harvard-bred lawyer by trade, but he's still got some street in him. And he's got to come over here and calm down. And he may have signed Jacobs, but Jacobs was disenchanted with Heyman, and that fell right in Eddie's lap. Okay, but in reality, it's going to be a lot different over here than it is over in England. That's how I feel. I mean, I wish Eddie nothing but success, because he's been good for boxing in the UK, and he has the ability and the wherewithal to do great in the US too. But he's got to, his personality is different. He's got to hire Americans around him, PR people. He's got to hire American boxing people because he doesn't really know. Boxing is a very different kind of sport. Remember, you don't have a schedule a year in advance like you do in soccer and rugby, Formula One, the Grand Prix racing. These are things you pick and choose a fighter's career carefully, and every time he steps in the ring, his life and livelihood's on the line. Okay, and a fighter has to be comfortable with that. And you have to let them know that you know boxing. And I don't really think he knows boxing. Put it this way, he's what I call ivory tower manager, ivory tower boxing management. He came from the top. He didn't come from the bottom. Mm-hmm. I'd rather have a guy that came from the bottom and worked his way up and started out in the pits and the humble beginnings of boxing. Don King started out in the humble beginnings because he started handling fighters and stuff like Ernie Shavers and Ray Henderson and those guys. But Bob Arum, he started out as a Harvard-bred lawyer, and his first fight he ever went to, he promoted George Foreman George Chuvalo and Muhammad Ali in Toronto in 1966. So, you got to know boxing from the ground up. Boxing is something you have to know, and you don't learn boxing. You either understand it. Don't forget one thing. Fighting is man's ultimate instinct and ultimate survival. Okay, and you have to put yourself in the eyes of a fighter. Okay, every time he steps in the ring, whether it's a fight or sparring, it doesn't matter. The man's life. Somebody's hitting him in the head with 8 or 10 ounce gloves on. in the heavyweight, in the bigger division, in the bigger divisions, 10 ounces, smaller divisions, 8 ounces. But my point is, they're getting and that's the way it is. Okay, and there's nothing that can be said other than that about it. There's your answer right there.
Well, that was very interesting.
And Eddie Hearn's got to gain that respect.
Yeah, I understand that, and Eddie says he's going to crack America, and he's talking all that stuff, but he's gonna, you can't, I've always seen it. He's a rich boy, and he's inherited what the hard work his dad's put into it, and you can't knock Eddie for what he's done, but you can't be something that you're not, and he is not what I see, street up hustler. Right. He's not.
You gotta have street mentality.
Yeah, and he hasn't got that.
To be successful in boxing, you gotta have street mentality, and you gotta be a people person. You gotta be a astute businessman. You gotta be everything, and that's what Don King's been. And that's what made Don King successful.
Well, I will be looking back. Very, very much so, looking back and enjoying the journey of Eddie Hearn in America. That's going to be very interesting. You mentioned Lou Dibella. I had a running with Dibella once, a very brief running with Dibella. Talk to me about your experiences with Dibella, because you didn't have many pleasant things to say about Lou Dibella.
Put it this way, kid. Man stiffed me out of 7,500. He knows he didn't. And then he tried to say that I was extorting him out of 7,500, and he turned around and made me look like attempted to make me look like a bad guy, and that I was half a criminal. In reality, he told a group of people this. There was 8 people for dinner, including Dibella. So there was 7 in New York City at a dinner table in a restaurant. 7 people out of 7 other people there. 3 of them called me up as soon as they left Dibella that night within minutes of leaving, and they all told me what Dibella said about me. They all knew it was a lie. Every one of them. Okay, I do my business in a business-like manner. I'm proud of the services I've given to boxing and made a living over now 26 years, be 27 years in January, and I continue to do that. And I didn't try to restore anybody. The man is a horrible human being. Just outright stiffed me out of 7,500. Then he's looking for an excuse to stiff me. Okay, he didn't need an excuse. All he did is stiff me. It was that plain and simple.
So did you?
And to me, it's disgusting.
Did you not take any legal action towards Dibella, or did you just leave it?
Well, no, I left it. I'll tell you the reason why. Because to hire a lawyer in New York City would take $10,000 to hire a lawyer, number one, and there was no contract yet. They hadn't got that far of the deal. What happened was he asked me to contract for a fighter for an HBO fight for November of 2010. And the fighter, he said, pay the fighter $75,000, and I'll pay you on top of that, which is normally 10%, $7,500. That's the normal fee. He knew that. We don't even have to discuss it. Okay, here's what happened. Okay, here's what happened. He called. I told him who the fighter was. He called the manager directly and completely cut me out. After I had already made the deal with the guy over the phone. Yeah. This is the kind of guy that he is. He's a complete scrotum.
I'm sorry to hear that. I am very sorry to hear that. But if this is to be expected in the world of boxing, would I be wrong to say that?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Would I be wrong to say that this is to be expected in the world of boxing? That boxing is a world of unscrupulous characters. I've been told many a time.
I'm not understanding what you're saying.
I said that boxing is full of unscrupulous characters, and I've been told.
No. Don't take boxing. Don't take boxing as a whole. Take what Lou Dibella did as a person. He's a scum. Okay, I've never been stiffed by anybody else in professional boxing in almost 27 years of boxing. He's the only one that stiffed me. So that tells you a lot right there. Okay, I can't count the guy that passed away who owed me $1,500 and he died before he sent me the check. That I can't count because if he would have lived, he would have paid me. He had to die a natural death. He had a heart attack and died years ago. A guy from Texas, but that happens. Okay, that part I can live with. Okay, I can't live with a guy stiffing me for 7,500. So there you go.
And how long ago did this happen?
No, Dibella, November 2010. 7 years this month.
Wow.
Coming up here.
That must still hurt, right?
Well, listen, it separated a guy who I thought was my friend, and I was friendly with and very close with at one time, and he decided that our friendship wasn't worth. He put a number on our friendship, 7,500, and he outright stiffed me. I'm just lucky it wasn't more money. Imagine if it was 250,000, I probably that was screwed out of 25,000. You know, that's what I call death money. I would have killed him for that.
Wow. 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 I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry to hear you had that experience.
No, I'm not. Listen, I'm not. Actually, I'm glad about it because it showed me he wasn't my friend, and I cut bait with the guy.
Wow.
That's the way I look at it.
So since that, 7 years on, I mean, have you spoken to Dibella? Have you seen him since that time?
No, we don't run in the same. We don't run in the same circles.
Right.
You know, we just don't. We don't run in the same circles at all. We run an opposite circle. I have my own people do business with. He has his Al Heyman's, and I have my other accounts that I do business with, which is not Al Heyman.
Wow.
So that's the story there.
Wow. Wow. It's one hell of a story in itself, just there. So we were talking about Joshua, and we were talking about the American thing and whether Joshua could go by himself. You've given us more information about the American market in terms of, you know, who he could possibly go with and who he couldn't go with.
Well, here, and I'm going to have to cut out from you a little very shortly.
Okay.
I'm going to dinner with my lovely wife.
Okay.
Here, let me just explain this to you. Boxing, the difference between boxing in Europe and in the UK and the boxing over here is boxing in the UK runs second only to soccer. Over here it's a seventh sport.
Yes.
Tied with MMA. Over here we got professional football, professional baseball, hockey, and basketball. Plus we have a college basketball and college football. So that's 6 sports. MMA and boxing is 7. Okay, so over here, and actually NASCAR, which is bigger, way bigger than boxing and MMA. Okay, that rivals NFL football and baseball. So it's actually an 8 sport over here. Okay, and in the meantime, you have a complete. Hold on one second. You have a whole situation where you have a whole situation where it's easier to promote in the UK because you guys are more with the national existence that fighters have, that the people, the fans, have with their fighters over there than you have over here. Okay, because you guys are more nationalistic than we are. Okay, that's number one. Number two is it is a 7th or 8th sport over here. So because of that, those 2 things, it's easier to promote over there than it is here. It's easier to get the press out over there because of it.
Yeah.
And that's just the way it is.
It's much like the process.
That's what reality is.
The process is much like it's like in Australia, because like cricket is something I coach. I was coaching in the UK for a while, and I discovered that when I went to Australia, cricket was a major sport in the UK. I went to Australia, and they had other sports that were more dominant than cricket, and it wasn't as much as a priority. So because it wasn't as much as a priority as it is, it's different dynamics you're dealing with there. You know, different dynamics. Okay, just before go.
Exactly.
Just before you go, I've got to ask your opinion on this weekend's fight, Stiverne Wilder 2. What are your thoughts on it as we close?
Well, Wilder's supposed to win the fight because he's more active. He's the current champ. He's got the height, the reach, the youth. I mean, there's 10 years difference between the 2 fighters. One's 39 and one's 29, and he beat him once. But the other thing is that Wilder is very, very weak in the chin and can't take a body shot either. And if Stiverne hits him with a good shot, steps in and hits him, you know, Wilder could be left on the deck or falling all over the place anyways. Okay, so based on those things, anything can happen. But I'd be way more shocked if Sylvain was to beat him than Wilder to lose than I would the Wilder to beat him.
Do you believe the stories, although Steven's got medical reports about him being dehydrated the first fight? And if so...
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. He was in the first fight. There's no question about he was definitely in the first fight there was issues. I mean, I'm not even questioning that. I know there was for a fact because Don King told me himself in a private conversation, which was private at the time. I'm just saying to you that that the kid was screwed up and there was something wrong with his bloodstream and everything else. So, you know, I don't doubt that in a million years. But you know what? He's got to show the gumption to win. Okay, and that's what it's going to take to beat Wilder, gumption. He's got to go out there and give it 1,000% effort, throw bombs, and he'll get lucky if he can get lucky enough to hit this guy in the chin. Because Wilder is nothing but a statue on feet. Okay, he throws windmill punches. There's nothing crisp about what he throws, and there's nothing about what he throws. You don't teach that what he throws. He just throws those crazy punches, those windmill type of punches, and I just think that. You know, I think if Sylvain gets hit on the chin, I'm sorry, if a Wilder gets hit on the chin, the game is over. Okay, I don't believe I don't believe the man's got a good chin, and I know for a fact he doesn't. But nor can he take a body shot. But we'll see. You know, we're awful close to Saturday night now, so we're 5 days away. So we'll see. We'll see in 5 days.
A lot of people say, well, I said to people that Takam would go rounds with Joshua. I said that Jacobs would go rounds with GGG. I said that Canelo would go rounds with GGG. The people that argued with me all told me in all these fights that these guys would get blown away in 2 or 3 rounds. These same people are coming to me and telling me Steven gets blown away in a few rounds.
I'm going to give you a quick analogy of that whole thing. Big fights, great fights, okay, do not end, and besides heavyweights, do not end quickly. They're long, grinding fights. They go to the scorecards or a very late round stoppage most of the time. Non-heavyweights, like Canelo, GGG, all these fights, they're always decision fights or late stoppages, never something early. Just the way it is. Look at the percentages.
Of course.
Plain and simple.
I try and tell these people that, but they don't listen. This fight, James Bashir, who I hooked up with Bermain for this fight, they've been training for 8 weeks, I believe. He thinks this fight goes no more than 6 rounds either way.
Who thinks that?
Bashir, James Bashir.
You know what? It's a heavyweight fight. It can end in 1 round or it can go to the scorecards. You just don't know what heavyweight. That's why I said earlier when I just said that about these bigger fights going rounds. And I said non-heavyweights. The heavyweights, you don't know. One guy could get hit in the chin early and game is over. Just the way it works. And another thing is, heavyweights don't have to be in the shape to make the weight because there's no weight limit. So you don't really know how hard they train. You can look at their body and see that they're overweight compared to they were in past fights, or they're not as muscular as they were. But you don't have to make a weight, so they're never, except for the Holyfields of the world and these kind of fighters that really train, you never really know about heavyweights. You just don't.
Back to that dehydration.
It's very, very hard to say.
Before you disappear, back to that dehydration thing. Is there a conspiracy behind that dehydration thing? That Steven was dehydrated because of X, Y, and Z?
You're asking me something that I just be guessing on, and I don't guess. Right. I only go by actual facts and education on certain matters, and I have no clue what happened there. I know if Don King told me that he saw the reports, that he had a doctor look at him, I have to believe Don King, because Don King to me has been an earnest guy in my dealings with Don over the last 14 years.
So in that case, a fit Steven that night would have been So a dehydrated fighter versus a hydrated fighter, a lot of people say it doesn't make much of a difference. I'm sure it does make a difference. Your thoughts?
It makes a tremendous difference. It's not even a comparison. One prevents you from throwing punches. One prevents you from being able to take punches. And if one, it prevents you from being aggressive. And there's a great saying. Okay, everybody knows. Everybody should know their own body. And that's all there is to it. And a guy knows what's in front of him as far as what his body's all about and who he's fighting and everything else. And he didn't, before the fight, he probably didn't realize he was dehydrated, but he was dehydrated, and it happened. As far as the conspiracy goes, listen, I have no idea. That I would never answer because I'd be an uneducated guess, and I don't do that. That's not my style. I don't spout off at the mouth unless I have facts and experience behind something, rather than just guessing. I'm not a guesser.
Wow. Okay. Okay. I think I'm going to let you go, Rick. Thank you so much for that insight. We appreciate it. I'm glad that you were able to reveal that stuff, and we really look forward to having you back on the show again.
Ingram, I enjoy being on your show anytime, and I'd like to say hello and goodbye to everybody. The people that didn't come on early and they came on later on your show, hello, and the people that stood with us throughout the whole thing, hello, goodbye, and have a wonderful evening, and let's watch the fights, and always keep safety in mind. When the referee stops the fight quickly in everybody's mind, okay? You enjoy. Thank you for being on your show.
Thank you so much, Rick Glaser, once again. Thank you. So there we have Rick Glaser. Very, very interesting stuff. And at the end, he tells us Stiverne was dehydrated. Does that change your views? Okay, we have a very, 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 very special guest coming up at 11 o'clock. We have Jolene Mizone, the Vice President of Operations for Main Events. Yeah, we're going there tonight. We're talking to Main Events tonight, 11 p.m. UK time. We have the Vice President of Operations and Matchmaker for Main Events. Yes, Main Events. We'll be talking to them at 11 o'clock. Hope you can join us. See you then.